Okay. Good afternoon. Welcome, everyone. Wow, it's so nice to see so many people here. Welcome to Lawrence Park Community Church. My name is Reverend Stephen Milton, and I'm one of the two ministers here. And I recognize many of you here today, but I know that there's a number of people who have not been in this building before, so welcome. It's such a pleasure to have you here for this trip to Cape Breton at Christmas time. Our show today is the brainchild of our church's musical director, Daniel Rubinoff. He has a summer place in Cape Breton, and it was his idea to say, you know what, there's this beautiful story about a Cape Breton Christmas by Alistair MacLeod, and I'd love to marry it with music. And so that's what we're going to be doing today, and you'll see Daniel on the piano in a few minutes. He'll be playing along with a talented crew of musicians, some of whom are from Cape Breton, and you'll also hear from our choir, and of course, you'll be hearing the story. The story is To Everything There Is a Season by Alistair MacLeod. He's one of Canada's cherished literary greats. He died about 10 years ago. And I'd like to thank the members of his family, including his children, for having told others who love Alistair MacLeod's work to be here for the concert as well as to be here online. Our narrator today is the acclaimed actor, Canadian actor, R.H. Thompson. For many years, he's appeared in international and Canadian television and film productions, most recently on the CBC's Murdoch Mysteries. You may have seen him there. He's also a member of the Order of Canada. We're delighted that he was interested in bringing Alistair MacLeod's story to life in this way. A few short housekeeping details before we begin. There's no intermission, and we expect this show to run between an hour to an hour and a half, and if that seems a little imprecise, it's because Cape Breton music is a little imprecise. If someone's really wailing away on an improvised solo, we don't want to slow them down by thinking that they have to keep to a clock. So we should be done in about an hour and a half. Now, there are washrooms here down the hall that way, for those of you who are new here. And if you would like some water, there's also some water in the hallway just over there. And we'd kindly ask you to turn off your phones so that everyone can enjoy this without interruption. And please, no recording of this performance is permitted. Finally, I'd just like to say that this is a fundraiser for our church. Thanks to your generosity, in person and online, we are able to continue being a church in the city. And what we mean by that is that we rent this building to all sorts of tenants at reduced rates, including 2 schools, one of whom is for autistic children, TACT, upstairs. We also rent space to many performing groups. There are choirs who perform in this sanctuary every weeknight practically. Right now, there's kids from Stagecoach performing and learning how to perform all over the building. This building is a hive of activity all week long, not just on Sundays. And as Christians, we believe that we are called to help the marginalized and the poor in our city, as well as help those who come into this building. And we do that through participation in Out of the Cold programs and donations to charities and getting clothing drives going. And we also participate in debates over public policy. We go to meetings at Queen's Park and City Hall, and just a month and a half ago, there were 11 candidates for a city council seat up here on this stage, all being grilled by us about where they stand on homelessness issues and housing. We think that Christ calls us to help each other, be a comfort to each other, and to make sure that justice is a reality in our city and in our world. So thank you for buying tickets to this event so that we can continue to do that work. And now it's time to go to Cape Breton. And I'd like to welcome the musicians and our narrator, R.H. Thompson, to the stage.
Gwe mi manerik se chalja gruamik, mas menschen leinig tak mi fan. Hur mi en tatscha en eilate, gun preach gak tawend av vanam kjam, chadjen mi orna chure doyan, nur ni mi toshchak bi mi traum. Chan mi galak, shach mar bawish go, nur va mi sandu we call.
I'm delighted to read this story by Alistair MacLeod. Alistair's stories are very gentle rememberings of family, of sisters and brothers, as Cape Bretoners are spread around the country from Ontario to northern Quebec, and always the home feeling. He writes in a very gentle way about family, but the gentleness is over a ferocious story that's happening underneath. I'm speaking here of a time when I was 11 and lived with my family on a small farm on the west coast of Cape Breton. My family had been there for a long, long time, or so it seemed, and much of that time seems like the proverbial yesterday, yet when I speak of this Christmas, 1977, I'm not sure how much I speak with the voice of that time or how much in the voice of what I've since become. And I'm not sure how many liberties I may be taking with the boy that I think I was. For Christmas is a time of both past and present, and often the two are imperfectly blended. As we step into its nowness, we often look behind.
Morgens magrais metal, Jontis is meine Soul, mo wachen allen Ketachu, han you hin virga. Nach buien nach sonna kolsa, amo crie wan Jehois, mo gulen te la helistla, mo gulen crie is lian legra, get is lena vugunha, is lian for bui a orstefas.
I was 11, and we had been waiting now, it seems, forever. Actually, it had been the most intense since Halloween, when the first snow fell upon us as we moved like muffled mummers upon darkened country roads. The large flakes were soft and new then and almost generous, and the earth to which they fell was still warm and yet unfrozen. They fell in silence and into puddles and into the sea, where they disappeared at the moment of impact. They disappeared, too, upon the touching of the heated redness of our necks and hands or faces of those who did not wear the Halloween masks. And we carried our pillowcases from house to house, knocking on doors to become silhouettes in the light thrown out from kitchens, white pillowcases held out by whitened forms. The snow fell between us and the doors and was transformed in shimmering golden beams. And when we turned to leave, it fell upon our footprints, and as the night wore on, obliterated them and all the records of our movements. And in the morning, everything was soft and still, and November had come upon us. My brother, Kenneth, who is 2.5, is unsure of his last Christmas. It's Halloween that looms largest in his memory as an exceptional time of being up late in magic darkness and falling snow. Who are you going to dress up as at Christmas? He asks. I think I'll be a snowman. And all of us laugh at that, and we tell him Santa Claus will find him if he's good, and he need not dress up at all. We go about our appointed tasks, waiting for it to happen.
drifts upon it. The smiling faces watch the ground as the snow is falling all around, and through the glass there comes no sound as the snowflakes melt upon it. Snowman, snow house, hey, play with me. Shake the snow down from the tree. Games once played by you and me. Snow softly falling. The morning comes and the children play. Their laughter rings out through the day. They hope the snow is here to stay, that it won't be gone tomorrow. Sliding, running down the hill, the time for fun is now, but still, as they climb up on life's long hill, they're sure to meet some sorrow. Snowman, snow house, hey, play with me. Shake the snow down from the tree. Games once played by you and me. Snow softly falling. Snowman, snow house, hey, play with me. Shake the snow down from the tree. Games once played by you and me. Snow softly falling.
I'm troubled myself about the nature of Santa Claus, and I'm trying to hang on to him any way that I can. It's true that at my age, I no longer really believe in him, and yet I have hoped in all his possibilities as fiercely as I can. Much in the same way, I think that the drowning man waves desperately to the lights of the passing ship on the high sea's darkness. For without him, as without the man's ship, it seems our fragile lives would be so much more desperate. My mother has been fairly tolerant of my attempted perpetuation, perhaps because she's encountered it before. Once I overheard her speaking about my sister Anne to one of her neighbors. "I thought Anne would believe forever," she said. I practically had to tell her. And I have somehow always wished that I'd not heard her say that, as I seek sanctuary and reinforcement even in an ignorance I know I dare not trust. Kenneth, however, believes with unadulterated fervor, and so do Bruce and Barry, who are 6-year-old twins. And beyond me, there's Anne, who's 13, and Mary, who's 15. Both of them seem to be leaving childhood at an alarming rate. My mother has told us that she was already married when she was 17, which is only 2 years older than Mary is now. That too seems strange to contemplate, and perhaps childhood is shorter for some than it is for others. I think of this sometimes in the evening when we finished our chores and the supper dishes have been cleared away and we're supposed to be doing our homework. I glance sideways at my mother, who's always knitting or mending, and at my father, who mostly sits by the stove, coughing quietly with a handkerchief at his mouth. He has not been well for over 2 years and has difficulty breathing whenever he moves at more than the slowest pace. My father is the most sympathetic of all concerning my extended hopes and says that we should hang on to the good things in our lives as long as we are able. And I look at him out of the corner of my eye. It does not seem that he has many of them left. He's old, we think, at 42.
It's a working man I am, and I've been down underground. And I swear to God, if I ever see the sun, or for any length of time, I can hold it in my mind. I never again will go down underground. At the age of 16 years, oh, he quarrels with his peers, who vowed they'd never see another one. In the dark recess of the mines, where you age before your time, and the coal dust lies heavy on your lungs. It's a working man I am, and I've been down underground. And I swear to God, if I ever see the sun, or for any length of time, I can hold it in my mind. I never again will go down underground. At the age of 64, oh, he'll greet you at the door, and he'll gently lead you by the arm through the dark recess of the mines. Oh, he'll take you back in time, and he'll tell you of the hardships that were had. It's a working man I am, and I've been down underground. And I swear to God, if I ever see the sun, or for any length of time, I can hold it in my mind. I never again will go down underground.
Yet Christmas, in spite of all the doubts of our different ages, is a fine and splendid time. And now as we pass the midpoint of December, our expectations are heightened by the increasing coldness that's settled down around us. The ocean is flat and calm, and along the coast, in the scooped-out coves, has turned to an icy slush. The brook that flows past our house is almost totally frozen, and there's only a small channel of rushing water that flows openly at its very center. And when we let the cattle out to drink, we chop holes with the axe at the brook's edge so that they can drink without venturing onto the ice. The sheep move in and out of their lean-to shelter, restlessly stamping their feet or huddling together in tightly packed groups, a conspiracy of wool against the cold. The hens perch high on their roosts, with their feathers fluffed out about them, hardly feeling it worthwhile to descend to the floor for their few scant kernels of grain. The pig, who has little time before his butchering, squeals his displeasure to the cold, and with his snout tosses his wooden trough high into the icy air. The splendid young horse paws the planking of his stall and gnaws the wooden cribwork of his manger. We put a protective barricade of spruce boughs about our kitchen door and banked our house with additional boughs and billows of eelgrass. Still, the pail of water we leave standing in the porch is solid in the morning and has to be broken with a hammer. The clothes my mother hangs out on the line are frozen almost instantly and sway and creak from their suspending clothespins like sections of dismantled robots. The stiff-legged, rasping trousers and the shirts and sweaters with unyielding arms outstretched. In the morning, we race from our frigid upstairs bedrooms to finish dressing around the kitchen stove. We would extend our coldness half a continent away to the Great Lakes of Ontario so that it might hasten the Christmas coming of my oldest brother, Neil. He's 19 and employed on the lake boats, the long, flat carriers of grain and iron ore, whose season ends any day after December 10, depending on the ice conditions. We wish it to be cold, cold, cold on the Great Lakes of Ontario, so that he might come home to us as soon as possible. Already his cartons have arrived. They come from different places: Cobourg, Toronto, St. Catharines, Welland, Windsor, Sarnia, Sault Ste. Marie, places that we, with the exception of my father, have never seen. We locate them excitedly on the map, tracing their outlines with eager fingers. The cartons, bearing the lettering of Canada Steamship Lines, are bound with rope knotted intricately in the fashion of sailors. My mother says they contain his clothes, and we're not allowed to open them.
Away from the road.
For us, it's impossible to know the time or the manner of my oldest brother's coming. If the lakes freeze early, he may come by train because it's cheaper. But if the lakes stay open until December 20th, he will have to fly because his time will be more precious than his money. He will hitchhike the last 60 or 100 miles from either station or airport. On our part, we can do nothing but listen with straining ears to radio reports of distant ice formations. His coming seems to depend on so many factors which are out there far beyond us and over which we lack control. The days go by in fevered slowness until finally, on the morning of December 23, a strange car rolls into our yard. My mother touches her hand to her lips and whispers, "Thank God." My father gets up unsteadily from his chair to look through the window. Their longed-for son and our golden older brother is here at last. He's here with his reddish hair and beard, and we can hear his hearty laugh. He will be happy and strong and confident for us all.
A song about the men coming home for the holidays, the tuning of the fiddles, dancing, and of course having a dram. Feel free to hum along if you want. Shake ye maru na hakagan soon, she shaven nur haksa the sky. Shake ye maru na hakagan soon, their mullins and lappy and amdala cattle and dark me callans can cordium. Shake ye maru na hakagan soon, she shaven nur haksa the sky. Shake ye maru na hakagan soon, shake Gillian Mulgry a Hannigan fly, then Cottigan Scarlet's by kid. Shake ye maru na hakagan soon, she shoved and Lord hook saw the sky. Shake ye maru a hakagan soon, shake Gillian Mulgry a Hannigan meal, but Gallic Cloudy and be called at him. Shake ye maru na hakagan soon, she shoved and Lord hook saw the sky. Shake ye maru na hakagan soon, roll and wave and tie got it, had back going hey, not call and much. Shake ye maru a hakagan soon, she shoved and Lord hook saw the sky. Shake ye maru a hakagan soon, for field and shade I had a good egg and could a kikit and not to gain. Shake ye maru a hakagan soon, she shoved and Lord hook saw the sky. Shake ye maru na hakagan soon, she shoved and Lord hook saw the sky. Shake ye maru a hakagan soon.
There are three other young men with him who look much the same as he. They too are from the boats, and they're trying to get home to Newfoundland, and they must still drive 100 miles to reach the ferry at North Sydney. The car seems very old. They purchased it in Thorold for $200 because they were too late to make any reservations, and they have driven steadily since they began. In northern New Brunswick, their windshield wipers failed, but instead of stopping, they tied lengths of cord to the wiper arms, passing them through the front window vents. And since that time, in whatever precipitation, one of them has pulled the cords back and forth to make the wipers function. This information falls tiredly but excitedly from their lips, and we greedily gather it in. My father pours them drinks of rum, and my mother takes out her mincemeat and fruit cakes she's been carefully hoarding. We lean on furniture or look from the safety of sheltered doorways. We would like to hug our brother, but are too shy with strangers present. In the kitchen's warmth, the young men begin to nod and doze, their heads dropping suddenly to their chests. They nudge each other with their feet in an attempt to keep awake. They will not stay and rest because they have come so far, and tomorrow is Christmas Eve, and stretches of mountains and waters still lie between them and those they love.
When you're traveling around the cities and towns, and the faces stand out on their own, it's like a movie you're in. Let the next reel begin. Every mile brings you closer to home. Every mile, every mile, every mile, every mile, every mile brings you closer to home. When you can't find your place or someone to embrace, and you can't find the peace that you've known, it's like a game that you're in, on a toss or a spin. Every mile brings you closer to home. Every mile, every mile, every mile, every mile, every mile brings you closer to home.
After the three young men leave, we pounce upon our brother physically and verbally, and he laughs and shouts and lifts us over his head and swings us with his muscular arms. Yet, in spite of his happiness, he seems surprised at the appearance of my father, whom he has not seen since March. My father merely smiles at him while my mother bites her lip. But now that he's here, there's a great flurry of activity. We have left everything we could until the time that he might be with us. Eagerly, I show him the fir tree on the hill, which I've been watching for months, and marvel how easily he fells it and carries it down the hill. We fall over one another in the excitement of decoration. My oldest brother promises that on Christmas Eve he'll take us to church in the sleigh behind the splendid horse that until his coming we're all afraid to handle. And on the afternoon of Christmas Eve, he shoes the horse, lifting each hoof and rasping it fine and hammering the cherry red horseshoes into shape upon the anvil. And later he drops them hissingly into the steaming tub of water. My father sits beside him on an overturned pail and tells him what to do. And sometimes we argue with our father, but our brother, he does everything he says. And that night, bundled in hay and voluminous coats with heated stones at our feet, we start upon our journey. Our parents and Kenneth remain at home while the rest of us go. And before we leave, we feed the cattle and the sheep and even the pig all that they can possibly eat so that they will be contented on Christmas Eve. Our parents wave to us from the doorway. We go 4 miles across the mountain road. It's a primitive logging trail, and there'll be no cars or other vehicles upon it. At first, the horse is wild with excitement and lack of exercise, and my brother has to stand at the front of the sleigh and lean backwards with the reins. And later he settles down to a trot, and still later to a walk, as the mountains rise before him. We sing all the Christmas songs we know when we watch for rabbits and foxes scudding across the open patches of snow and listen for the drumming of partridge wings. We are never cold. And when we descend to the county church, we tie the horse in a grove of trees where he will be sheltered and not frightened by the many cars. We put a blanket over him and we give him oats. And at the church door, the neighbors shake hands with my brother. "Hello, Neil," they say. "How's your father?" And "Oh," he says, just "oh." The church is very beautiful at night with its festooned branches and glowing candles and the booming, joyous sounds that come from the choir loft. We go through the service as if we are mesmerized. The stones have cooled, we remain happy and warm And we listen to the creak of the leather harness and the hiss of runners on the snow and begin to think of the potentiality of presents. And when we were about a mile from home, the horse senses his destination and breaks into a trot and then into a confident lope. And my brother lets him go, and we move across the winter landscape like figures freed from a Christmas card. The snow from the horse's hooves falls about our heads like the whiteness of stars. And after we've stabled the horse, we talk with our parents and we eat the meal our mother has prepared. And then I'm sleepy and it's time for the younger children to be in bed. But tonight, my father says to me, we would like you to stay up with us for a while. Sorry. And so I stay quietly with my older members of my family. And when all is silent upstairs, Neil brings in the cartons that contain his clothes and begins to open them. He unties the intricate knots quickly, their whorls falling away before his agile fingers. The boxes are filled with gifts, neatly wrapped and bearing tags. The ones from my younger brother say, "From Santa Claus," but mine are not among those anymore, as I know with certainty that they never will be again. Sorry. And yet I'm not so much surprised as touched by a pang of loss at being here on the adult side of the world. It is as if I have suddenly moved into another room and hear a door. Sorry, it's quite strangely emotional for me. And yet it is as if I have suddenly moved into another room and heard a door click lastingly behind me. I'm jabbed by my own small wound. But then I look at those before me. I look at my parents drawn together before the Christmas tree. My mother has her hand upon my father's shoulder, and he is holding his ever-present handkerchief. I look at my sisters who have crossed this threshold ahead of me, and now each day journey farther from the lives they knew as girls. I look at my magic older brother who has come to us this Christmas from half a continent away. Bringing everything he has and is. And all of us are captured in the tableau of their care. Every man moves on, says my father quietly, and I think he speaks of Santa Claus. But there's no need to grieve. He leaves good things behind.
Everyone moves on with the passing of time. Like a favorite song, we leave our good things behind. Everyone moves on with the passing of time. Like a favorite song, we leave our good things behind. On and on across land and sea, move together that old mystery, holding each other across time and space, all through the ages, the whole human race. And everyone moves on with the passing of time. Like a favorite song, we leave our good things behind. And everyone moves on with the passing of time. Like a favorite song, leave our good things behind, daring to dream of a world without end. Hearts will find healing and fences will mend. Fathers and daughters, mothers and sons, sisters and brothers, love has just begun. Yes, everyone moves on with the passing of time. Like a favorite song, we leave our good things behind. Yes, everyone moves on with the passing of time. Like a favorite song, we leave our good things behind. For we all fall in this lifetime, and we all sink to the ground. But then one day we awake to find how to stand and reach for the sun. And everyone moves on with the passing of time. Like a favorite song, we leave our good things behind. Yes, everyone moves on with the passing of time. Like a favorite song, we leave our good